welcome to Best Laid Plans. This is your host, Sarah Hart-Unger, and this is the podcast where we talk all things planning and planning adjacent. Today, we're going to open with a really interesting planner piece submission, and then I'm going to go through my thoughts on Wirecutter's choices for planners for 2026. All right, so first, I'm going to share this detailed planner piece submission from a listener who I'll call R, because I'm not sure if they want to share their name out there. R writes, I've been meaning to write in for a while to share a bit of my planner piece journey and to raise a question about accessibility in the planner world. I'm someone with low vision due to a condition called Usher syndrome, which is a congenital vision loss disorder that's progressive with time. And while I still prefer paper planners, it's been a real challenge finding options that are both functional and easy on the eyes. So many popular planners are beautiful but use light gray ink, thin lines, or pastel fonts that are hard to read, even in letter size. I understand that these aesthetics are appealing to many, but they make planners less accessible for people like me, those who still have enough usable vision to work with paper planners, but need more contrast and clarity to do so comfortably. For me, it's not just about page size. The boldness of the layout matters just as much. Clean contrast and strong lines make a huge difference. As a full-time working mom of 2 elementary-aged kids and the director of a teacher education program, planning is essential to help me stay grounded and organized. I don't drive, so getting from place to place takes extra time and coordination. I need to be intentional with how I structure my days, whether I'm managing work meetings, family logistics, my usually long to-do list, or commuting across town. Having a clear and accessible planner system really impacts how smoothly everything runs. Right now, I use a bit of a hybrid system. I rely on Google Calendar and Outlook for personal and shared calendars, but I'm not ready to go fully digital. I just love paper planners too much. There's something about writing things down that helps it all click for me. I've landed on a disc-bound setup because it gives me the flexibility to print layouts that work for my eyes. And it also helps with some of my planner FOMO, since I can switch out beautiful covers and discs from companies like Levenger. Some of my current favorites include Plan with Laken's printable daily and weekly layouts in both minimal and bold, Amplify Planner's printables, which I enlarge from their standard 10x7 format, Passion Planner for its clean, bold layout, Lights Planner Action, which even offers black paper with white text and lines, a great inverted contrast I sometimes add to my planner, and Calibri notebooks, which are spiral bound with darker lines and larger formats. They're a bit of a splurge, but definitely among the most visible I've found. This is Sarah again with 2 side notes. One is that I had Plan with Lincoln on as an early guest in this podcast, so if you're interested in hearing what she sounds like earlier in her kind of planning influencer journey, you can listen to that episode. I believe it's from 2020 or 2021, and she was a joy to interview. And then the second thing I wanted to mention is that Calibri Notebooks, I recently saw a video done by Amanda's Favorites, a planner reviewer YouTuber who I really love and have gotten to know over the years. And it was great. So if that is a brand that you haven't checked out and are interested in, she does a comprehensive review video on Calibri just earlier this month in September. So you might want to check that out. All right, back to the planner piece. She writes, I know there are a few planner brands designed specifically for the low vision community, and I'm grateful those exist. But sometimes I just want to access more mainstream brands, the ones everyone's talking about, without having to compromise on visibility. I'd love to see more brands offer accessible printable options, especially with bold fonts, thicker lines, and more contrast. And while my dream would be a spiral or book-bound planner that checks all those boxes, I'd be thrilled just to see more companies thinking about visibility and access when designing printables. So she asks a question, which I'm going to share with all of you listeners, which is that, do you know of any planner brands or creators already thinking about this? Or any suggestions for how we can help raise the conversation as a community? So I hope I did this by including this question in today's episode. And if people have ideas for planner systems that check these boxes for our listener R, please send them my way. I will share them in a future episode or forward them directly to her. One that came to mind immediately was the Get to Work book, but Get to Work book is not published anymore. Maybe some old editions would work, or her old printables. I believe the creator's name is Elise. Her last name is escaping me, but I had her on the podcast as well. And everything she did was very bold, black and white. So if you can think of any other planners with those aesthetics, then this might be something wonderful for R to try. And thank you so much for sending this detailed entry in and also raising awareness of this issue. So with that, I am going to get to my reaction to Wirecutter's planner recommendations for 2026. Wirecutter is, I guess, a branch of New York Times or New York Times affiliated, and it's a website where they review various things, usually with pretty rigorous testing, but there's always a bias depending on who the judges are. And I'm not saying that to knock it. I think pretty much any kind of like review website is going to be biased by those who run it. And the best part is if you can at least find out who's doing it and maybe what perspectives they're coming from, so you can at least kind of keep that in mind as you're looking at the ratings. So I think it is fair to open up my kind of thoughts and reactions to their picks by mentioning the judges that they use to choose these planners for this year. So it included a few staffers on the Wirecutter team named Jackie Reeve, Caitlin Wells, and Melanie Pinola. And then they included a bunch of judges that are, I would call them celebrities from the planner world, including Erin Condren, creator of the iconic Erin Condren brand, no longer the owner, but she was the initial founder and creator. Clearly a large influence on the planning community and even the products that are available today from her brand, as well as many other brands. Shu Yao, the co-founder of Jet Pens. She is one of the creators of one of my very favorite places to order pens and planners, many of them Japanese, but also from some other countries as well. Sarah McNally, who's the owner of McNally Jackson Books and Goods for the Study. I haven't heard of them personally, but I'm sure she has a expertise given that she has a bookstore and then sounds like planning type goods store as well. And then Kristen Damian, who runs the planner sticker company, Chrissy-Ann Designs, famous for their sticker kits, which fit many, many different planner layouts. So that is who is coming up with these recommendations. All right, so the first planner that they named was a minimalist pick, and their pick was the Muji Recycled Paper Weekly, which is amazing in that it's only $6, can be purchased on Amazon, and it's just pretty much as bare bones as it gets. It's got the week, it's got a cardboard cover, and basically the days Monday through Friday for 52 week spreads for the entire year. So if you just want to write down like one or two main things you're doing for each day, or just want like a carryable paper calendar that goes by the week, this could be a great pick for you. Very minimalist aesthetic. Definitely not for those who want to write large or want really thick, luxurious paper, but I can see the appeal for something that is very inexpensive. You could also use this as kind of like a side planner, like maybe you're just tracking one thing, and hey, for $6, you could have like 10 of them and track 10 different things if you wanted to by the week. But an interesting pick. When I think of minimalist, I think more of things like hemlock and oak, but in many ways, hemlock and oak is quite expensive and has a lot of features. It's just more of their design sense is a little bit minimalist. So I guess I can acknowledge that this would be a truly minimalist pick and makes sense for this review. The next category they mention is the compact modular category, and they chose the Traveler's Company Traveler's Notebook. I have not done a formal review of Traveler's Notebook because I haven't used them personally, but I always enjoy kind of looking at them and seeing what others do with them. And they really are a unique system where you have kind of a leather cover that has elastics in it, and you're able to combine little booklets that stick in there through these elastic bands. So they're pretty secure, but also it's an incredibly flexible system because you can have a booklet that's got a monthly spread, a booklet that's blank, a booklet that has places to put photos. Like there are many, many flexible formats, and the Wirecutter article mentions that specifically. It also comes in two sizes, one of which is pretty portable. The passport size is just for 3.9 by 5.3 inches. So I can see how they chose this for compact modular. I do feel like maybe a disc bound is kind of missing in the modular section, although there is a ring bound section, which we'll get to in a minute. But certainly the disc bound is worth mentioning in terms of those who like a system like this. And another compact modular system that comes to mind that I've seen a lot in the planner world is Planner Perfect. I feel like Traveler's Company is more kind of gender neutral, and Planner Perfect leans a little bit more feminine. But that would be my additional shout out for the compact modular category. All right, we're going to take a quick break and get to their third category, which is ring bound. Today's episode is brought to you with support from Green Chef. I love fall energy, like the fresh start of back to school, plus all of that delicious fall food. Warm, homey flavors just make everything feel comforting. Plus, with the new seasonal energy, it's the perfect time to reset and bring healthy habits back into focus. Green Chef can help you do just that, even if your season is packed with school festivities and events. Green Chef's meals are made up of real, clean ingredients, and they help you build lasting healthy habits without the hassle. With 80-plus dietitian-approved weekly meal options, Green Chef makes it easy to find meals that fit your lifestyle. Pick from Mediterranean, gluten-free, plant-based, and protein-heavy, There's even a gut and brain health option and calorie-smart choices too. They really are family-friendly, and my kids are always so excited for our Green Chef dinners. Make this fall your healthiest yet with Green Chef. Head to greenchef.com/50bestlaid and use code 50bestlaid to get 50% off your first month, then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's code 50bestlaid, as in 50bestlaid, at greenchef.com/50bestlaid. Today's episode comes to you with support from IXL. The autumn season is in full swing, and IXL helps keep your homeschool lessons or school enrichment structured and steady, whether you're following a set curriculum or creating your own. I personally love the simplicity that IXL offers. I don't have to dig through endless resources. IXL is organized by grade and topic, so I can jump right into what each child needs. My kids have been using IXL for years, and I really trust it to help solidify concepts and meet them where they are. Just like each leaf changes at its own pace, each child learns differently. IXL adapts so kids can move ahead when they're ready or revisit the topic until it truly clicks. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. And Best Laid Plans listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/plans. Visit IXL.com/plans to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price. Today's episode is brought to you with support from Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. That's why you should say yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for $15 per month. Mint Mobile's plans start at $15 per month, and there are no unexpected overages or hidden fees. All Mint Mobile plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. So ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/BLP. That's mintmobile.com/BLP. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 per month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, I am back, and I'm just sharing and commenting on the Wirecutter planner recommendations for 2026 as published in September of 2025. The next category that they went into is the ring-bound category, and their winner was the classic Filofax. I thought this was super interesting. They even noted in the comments down below that they looked at another brands, including the classic Franklin Covey, but found that Filofax had the most durability, beautiful covers, high quality, lots of inserts available. And I have to admit that there is something cool about having a planner that was iconic in the 1980s showing up on a list in 2025. So kind of a cool pick. I definitely know that Filofax has their diehard fans out there. I have friends who have been using Filofax systems for decades now. And so it was cool to see them on this list as well. The next category was the best highly decorated category. And the winner here was Erin Condren. Okay, I can see why Erin Condren won this category, and I love the designs that Erin Condren puts out. I'm tempted by them every single year, and I often succumb even though I have no need for an additional planner. But also, Erin Condren was a judge here, and they didn't really mention that possible conflict of interest in this category, so I kind of laughed out loud a little bit, thinking of Erin Condren raising her hand and being like, can I have a category that would fit the Erin Condren brand? Now, again, she doesn't actually own that brand anymore, so maybe someone could say that she would be less partial or not care if they won a particular category or not, but I still thought it was kind of funny. Now, what else would I put in the best highly decorated category? I mean, there really aren't many other brands that are so incredibly colorful on the inside. I did mention Calibri up above, and they do have a lot of color customization. Plum paper can be made pretty decorated, but I will say Erin Condren does amazing things with kind of having design themes that they carry throughout the planner. And I can't think of a lot of other brands. Oh, maybe Simplified. Simplified is just, it's not highly decorated, but it's incredibly aesthetic. The covers are aesthetic. The insides are just incredibly well designed. So I would mention that. Simplified did not get a shout out in Wirecutter's list of recommendations, but maybe that's one that I would have thrown out a mention in this category, especially with the beauty of their covers that they put out every single year. All right, the next category they came out with was Best academic, which is an interesting category. They do mention a few. They did not mention the Order Out of Chaos planner, which I reviewed in an episode a few weeks ago, which I think could have had a shout out. I just think it's a really functional design. My 6th grader is currently using it. It may not be his choice to be using it as much as we're encouraging him to use it, but it does seem to be working pretty well. And so I feel like mentioning it here, even though it did not get a shout out in the article instead mentioned the EC Erin Condren Softbound Academic Planner, which is an excellent planner as well. I can see the versatility there and the different layouts, and it does have the wonderful Erin Condren paper as well. So I don't see anything wrong with this pick, except again, we have 2 Erin Condren picks and a judging panel that includes Erin Condren. So just going to mention that once more. Next, we have the best planner for multitasking. And I love that Laurel Denise gets a shout out here. I'm not sure if this is her first time being included in this roundup of planner picks for the year, but certainly her name has come up again and again as kind of a newer favorite with a lot of layouts that have kind of been, disruptive in a good way to the planner scene and what's out there. And so I love that she gets a shout out here. And specifically, they mention her mini horizontal weekly planner, which is 9.875 by 7.25 inches, or the regular, which is 12.75 by 9.25 inches. So you might take note that the mini isn't actually all that mini. And when you open it up, it's quite wide on the desk, even for a smaller planner. But the beauty of the Laurel Denise systems is that you're able to see your month while you're doing your weekly planning. And there really aren't any other systems where you can see those both in one view. You would otherwise have to have 2 separate books. So I definitely think she deserves this shout out, or her company deserves this shout out here. And I'm glad that Laurel Denise got included. Then we have Best Customizable Planner. And the winner here was the Agendio. And I have to say, I feel like I am overdue to making an Agendio myself just for review purposes and talking about all the features that are out there. Because the last time I did that, I believe, was 2018. And my one gaffe with Agendio was that some of the fonts were kind of small and that I didn't totally love the paper. But it's like almost 8 years later. So I have to imagine they probably have a ton more options than they had back then. And I've seen actually some layouts which are way more customizable than they even had back when I looked at it. So I'm glad they got mentioned again. I'm glad that they're continuing to be the most customizable planner on the market. It really is cool to have a brand that allows you to almost design entirely what is on the pages. But I will throw out that was not mentioned in this category that I would have included would be personal planner. And my guess is they didn't include it because you can't get it on Amazon. It's not like easily available at Target or anything like that. You have to order it online. It's a Swedish company, but they do ship to many countries with fairly minimal shipping costs. So I don't know, if you're looking for a customizable planner, an Agendia is a bit too bulky. You want something a little bit more streamlined, but still has a ton of freedom to do what you want on the pages, change category names, colors, all of that. Personal planner deserves a look. And Plum Paper also has a ton of customizability as well. I think that did get a shout out in the lower body of the article, but not within this category. But it is extremely customizable. So I think it could have been mentioned here. Other planners that got shout outs kind of down below in the article, but not under specific categories, include the Rote Runner Purpose Planner, the Class Tracker in the academic category, the Day Designer, which I do feel like is, a really niche daily planner that just has a day per page design that I think is unique and has stood the test of time. People just love it and they try using other things and they go back to it. So I'm glad they mentioned that. And then finally, the Mochi Things Medium Ardium Planner, which is a planner that I couldn't tell whether it was made in Korea or it's just very kind of Korean design sense, but it is a beautiful planner that has kind of a minimalist look to it, but still has a ton of different features. And for those who don't want daily pages, I think that this really does deserve a look, kind of competing with the Hobonichis and the Hemlock and Oaks of the world in terms of their kind of minimalist aesthetic and really open-ended format. So that would be the Mochi Things Medium Ardium Planner. And then finally, this article, every year I note that they mention Hobonichi, but they don't mention it as like in the category. It never wins anything. And they always talk about it and say something like, well, their availability is limited. And in fact, they write that that is why they did not feature them this year. They do mention that JetPen stocks Hobonichi planners and Hobonichi has an Amazon storefront. I don't know. I think Hobonichi is now pretty darn accessible. I went to Amazon. You can prime a whole number of planners those with covers, the Han planners, jet pens is easy to find. There are a number of stationery shops within the United States, and I'm sure other countries that stock Hobonichi, and you still can order from the Japanese site. They describe the Japanese site as basic. I really don't think that's true anymore. I mean, there was a time that all the prices were in yen and it was hard to navigate, but I think things are much, much better at this day and age. So I would urge the Wirecutter team to think about treating Hobonichi more like all these other brands, because it's not like you can walk into Target and buy a Laurel Denise or a Roadrunner or many of these other brands that are getting category wins. So yeah, I'm just not entirely sure why they're treating Hobonichi differently. And then they always note that some of the staffers themselves use Hobonichi, which should say something. So I guess I'm voting for Hobonichi to actually win a category next year instead of being noted as a footnote. And then finally, the article goes for a useful kind of list of ways to choose a planner and the things you should look at. They mentioned layout. I agree. That's the first and foremost. You need to know, what do I actually want to put in this planner? How open-ended do I want it to be? Do I want the week, the year, the day, the month, like what combination, what Monday start versus Sunday start, etc. So that's got to be first and foremost, how you want to actually organize the information that's in there. Second, dates versus undated. Many of us are drawn to dated planners, just less work to do on our own. And there's something nice about having this like transient book, but undated can be amazing, especially for daily planners when you don't want to use a page every single day and you just need that layout on certain days. So that's a great category to mention. They mentioned size, which I agree, the portability, whether you need something that's tiny and you can toss in a bag, or you need something really big because you have vision issues, or you like want something that's going to be a full page to write on all day long. That's worth mentioning. Cover and binding. Some people love rings and discs and being able to remove things and take things out. Other people are sticklers for things to lie completely flat. That would include me. I can't stand a book that won't lie flat, although I will also enjoy spiral, because in a way that's a compromise. It's its own type of flatness, or you can fold it on its half and take up less desk real estate. But other people really don't like spiral, so the binding and cover is very important to think about. The design and the aesthetics, as well as the accessibility, as mentioned in our planner piece segment today. And then I would also add two other things when I was kind of thinking of my own additions to this list. Paper compatibility. Does the paper in the planner make you happy? Does it work with the pens you want to use? Is it really smudgy and you're a left-hander and you want to use messy gel pens? Or does it have more bleed through than you want? So paper compatibility is important. And then finally, the ability to customize versus not. Some people really want to be able to change various aspects of the planner or design their cover themselves. Other people, that doesn't matter at all, and they just want something really, really open-ended but not customized. So I think that's another thing to keep in mind. So in conclusion, I thought this was a really fun article to read. I am glad they included who the judges were. I liked a lot of their picks. I think it was great they included Laurel Denise this year. And I guess my only big feedback would be that I think that Hobonichi should no longer be relegated to a comment at the end, but should be treated similarly to these other products, as I think the idea that it's not as available has really become less true with time. All right. Well, this concludes this episode. I would love to hear if you had looked at this article and have thoughts of it, if you feel like there's a brand that was just left out and really should have been mentioned, or if you have maybe found something new. Colibri comes to mind as a brand that I just feel like is getting more and more buzz. And honestly, I do feel like I need to review the very, very customizable Agendio, and then also probably the Mochi Things planner. I haven't actually seen one of those in person, and I think that might be fun to look at before the new year. So yes, a little bit more planner content coming, although I will give you a break from planners next week and do a more concept-oriented episode, and I have some guests coming down the pipeline. Please send me your questions, your suggestions for future episodes, and I will be back next week in your feed with more planning fun. Have a wonderful week. And yes, please send me your planner pieces, your suggestions, and your questions. The easiest way to reach me is my email, sarah.hart@gmail.com, or you can always leave a comment on the show notes, which can be found at my website, theshoebox.com. All right, I'll be there next week talking about more planning fun.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.